In the Newsroom is a production in partnership with Studio Stillwater. Every week, journalists from the Stillwater News Press invite listeners to join us in the newsroom and hear the story behind the stories. Hello and welcome to In the Newsroom. I'm Beau Simmons, editor of the Stillwater News Press. With me today, producer Chris Peters.
Howdy, folks.
City editor Michelle Charles.
Good afternoon.
And that's it. That's all we are. Just three of us.
Ashlyn is still kind of on vacation. She's on hiatus.
But she's here.
She's here working, just not with us in the podcast room.
Diving deep, catching up on all the happenings in Stillwater.
That's what happens when you take vacation. You got to catch up when you get back. You either work way ahead or you have to catch up when you get back.
You know,
usually it's both, really.
You know what's funny? It's like, you ever see that stuff where these influencers who kind of think of themselves as like journalists, you know, and they go. They'll go and then they'll go to these trips and they're like travel bloggers. Mm-hmm. And I remember one guy talking about like Japanese work culture and like, you know, people here, you know, they typically, you know, they don't want to go on vacation because it's as seen as an inconvenience to the other workers. And it's like everything they say, and Japan is just one, for instance. They could be anywhere, but everything they say, it's like, that totally happens in America. You just don't really work in America.
Exactly.
Right? You don't have a real job.
You're a travel
back
blogger.
in America. So you don't really know how it goes. But it's like, most places have all these same kind of issues.
You know, I have to say, though, it makes being a travel blogger sound pretty freaking awesome.
Every sort of modern place in the world has more paid leave than America, right? It's like in any first world country has more paid leave and family leave and things like, you know, vacation time, days off, you know, however they do it. But, you know, and then they'll talk and say, but they have all this leave, but they barely take it because they don't want to be an inconvenience. And I was like,
well,
even still, but you know, but then you find out, oh, well, there's a caveat. Whatever they don't use, they get paid for. You know, there's these kind of things.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But yeah, it's definitely clear when one of us is on vacation. I mean, there's, I guess the rest of us try to pick up the load. Like, I can try to listen to the scanner, and if it's like, oh, fire, let's go find the location.
Right.
But I can't hear it well enough to sometimes parse like the details. And if it's cranked up really, like I cannot process it at the same time as doing my job where I'm usually reading things.
Yeah, it's hard. And also you have to catch the address right when it comes out. Mm-hmm. And so if you miss the address, you can know what's going on, and then you have to play catch up and try to figure out. You just have to hope that like one of the crews that's responding goes, "Can I get that address again?" And then you know.
Yeah, but kudos to them to be able to like rattle that off. And I know they also have like their little computer systems that send them information and all that type of stuff. So it's not like the officers like trying to write down with a pen and pad the address and all that stuff.
Yeah, they do training actually on how to talk on the radio and how to communicate clearly. My husband, who is a retired firefighter, works at the YMCA at night, and they have walkie-talkies so that the lifeguards in the pool can communicate with the people at the front in case they need help, or like say, you know, you have a certain ratio of swimmers per lifeguard, and if you exceed that, you have to get an extra person to come out. He said that, you know, he got this call on the walkie-talkie one night, and this guy was just rattling stuff off, and he missed half of it. Anyway, so he did a little class to teach them how to use the walkie-talkie. And he was like, no, you have to say, "This is Tyler at the swimming pool to the front desk. I need help." And then you wait, and you let me say that I heard you. And then you tell me what you need. And then when you're done, we both say copy or over. And so he did this little class on mic etiquette.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like AP style for this. It's all for clarity.
Exactly.
So my favorite thing about when someone goes on vacation is they come back and they say, "Oh, were you guys able to cover this thing for me that I care about?" And we say, "Nope." It wasn't.
It just wasn't a thing.
It wasn't as important to us as it was to you. Sorry.
No, well, that's the thing about beats, right? Because when you're focused on your beat, there's this stuff that you know that you would normally get to. And when you're gone and, people who aren't focused on that, that's not their priority. Not only that, but just, as you said, Chris, with such a small staff, there's just no way to get to all of it when there's no way to get to all of it when we're all here. But when one person's gone, you really feel it. When 25% of our news staff, which is one person, is gone, you feel it. I remember when there were a lot more people in the room. I do. But, we get it done. That's the thing. I mean, this is what blows my mind. Year after year after year, somehow we always manage to find a way to get a paper out every day, to cover most of the really important stuff. And we still win awards. And it kind of blows my mind. It's like, how is this happening?
Speaking of things that we can get to and what we can't get to.
Yeah.
At least everyone's trying. Everyone's planning for events, live in-person events.
Finally.
First time in a long time. Because, when Rob, our publisher, got here, he was talking about doing like photo pages or photo packages and things like that. I was like, yeah. We can do that stuff. It's just everything's been canceled for 2 years.
There was nothing to photograph for a while.
That
you need events to create content.
Yeah, for a long time, just things of that nature were shut down. We were doing so much sort of over the phone and just and and for us, we got to work on a lot of kind of policy issues and things of that nature. But yeah, as far as just the old get together and we're having this meeting and we're having ice cream kind of thing that it just wasn't happening for a solid 18 months anyway.
Well, after a while, taking pictures of people on Zoom looking like the Brady Bunch is less than compelling. And that was basically the visuals we had to work with whenever people gathered, because it was all remote, it was all virtual.
So now it's let's see, what's our kind of is Taste of Stillwater our first sort of thing, maybe?
Well, before
it's like a big community event.
So this is being recorded on March 4th. I would say our next big event is Mid-South.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys will hopefully be hearing this Monday. And so your next weekend, the 11th through the 12th, actually 3 days, they're kind of spreading it out, will be Mid-South happening downtown. Then I think Taste of Stillwater, which is March 24th. Then we've got like Payne County Pride coming up April 2nd.
April 2nd, yeah.
And then the Arts Festival.
Yes.
It combines with the, it's not the music festival.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Did they call it the music festival?
Yeah,
too?
that's what they called it.
Okay. The Arts Festival, put on by the Arts and Humanities Council, is combining with the Community Center Foundation's Music Festival.
Nice.
April 15th through 16th.
We're actually going to have stuff, guys.
Well, I mean, and then of all the OSU things, all the weekends and things like that, in spring football and So all that stuff is crammed into April too. April traditionally was always one of our busiest months.
Absolutely.
Because it was the weather picks back up. Everyone is fighting for all those weekends.
Sure. And I saw that Modelo Art Gallery and the Downtown Merchants are getting ready to relaunch the Friday night art walks on the third Friday of the month, where you go around and you visit different businesses and you see art and you drink wine, and it sounds like a good time to me. I'm just ready to get, I'm just ready to see a bunch of people gathered.
Right.
I mean, it would feel good. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who still feel more comfortable maybe in open air type situations, but I think it's starting to feel safer.
And we'll have plenty of those too. A lot of our events are sort of outdoors.
Mm-hmm. One other event that will actually be happening the same time. So on March 12th, the OSU Museum of Art will be restarting they're calling them Second Saturdays.
Oh, those are fun things for families. Mm-hmm. Those are really nice.
So that'll be going on starting at 11 a.m.
That is so cool. I'm excited. I'm ready to.
So, this upcoming weekend, go downtown. You can drink beer watch people finishing riding bikes. It looks like it's going to be really cold. And then, go to the art museum. I mean,
right.
Fun stuff to do.
Probably a lot of the botanic garden stuff is probably kicking back off as well.
Yeah, concerts, yoga in the garden.
Yeah.
They've got all kinds of events out there. If you follow them on social media, they have a ton of things going on out there.
They've got a Backyard Gardening 101, March 18th.
Yeah.
That's a Friday at 9 a.m. So.
Yeah, they have a whole series of free concerts that they do every year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the yoga in the garden, I went out there and took pictures one year, and that is really nice. They have all these nice green rooms, that are kind of set aside by trees, and people took their yoga mats and they're out there in the open air around all these beautiful trees and flowers and everything.
And pollen.
Yeah, well, there is that. But these people didn't seem to be bothered by it. Maybe it was the yoga.
Probably.
I don't know.
Allergies are coming, folks.
Oh, we're actually just wrapping up cedar season.
And then bugs.
Whatever. Nature.
That's all right.
Nature. Nature would be awesome if it wasn't for pollen and all the bugs.
Well, I was going to say our current weather pattern is not helping them.
Yeah, that's true.
Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold.
Yep.
Oh, Mid-South, yeah. 2020 was actually, in Mid-South, this is sort of it's almost something we could timeline. It's almost like a milestone because
for sure
2020, it was the last big community event Stillwater had before the pandemic.
Like on the
as it was beginning, right before the shutdown.
Yeah, everything else just started to fall down in this dominoes of we're shutting this down and that.
Yep. I was volunteering moving barricades with the mayor and Representative Ranson, and the mayor. I mean, this was before masks and all that, and he was just like, kind of feels weird that, now, to be fair, a lot of people did not come that year.
That's true.
Participation, you can actually go to their website. They show how many people were registered and then how many people started. And I think it was hundreds and hundreds of people that were there were people that legitimately were in the process of traveling and turned around and still didn't come. Well,
and the big deal was that, Bobby wasn't going to be hugging people at the finish line, which
if
was,
you look at some of the photos, there are plenty of hugs that went on.
I think
there's a photo of me he's trying to hug me, and I'm like, space, bro.
Well, it was probably people that he felt really close to or comfortable with, because I think even during the pandemic, we all kind of fell into that, where it's like, even if people would separate or you wouldn't see them for a little while, if it was someone that you consider to be in your inner circle, you sort of treated them like they were in your bubble. It was easy to forget that they left the bubble and came back, and so it begins like a whole new thing. Anyway, so that was a psychological thing that we were all dealing with and all struggling with.
Yeah, and that's been a big change. Yeah. They've got COVID protocols this year, so people are having to prove vaccination or prove a test 48 hours before the event starts. So when you go to pick up your registration, you have to actually bring proof.
Oh, I had no idea that was going on.
Yep.
That's for the cyclists and the runners?
That's for everybody. That's for even volunteers. And even themselves for staff. This is their policy that's on their website.
Okay. And is that an or an and?
Oh, that's an or. So if you're not vaccinated or don't want to show that, then you have to show a negative test.
Okay. But the good news is Mid-South will be back. It's a good time. It's exciting. There's so much energy.
It brings a lot of dollars during a week when nothing else is really going on.
That is true, because it's during spring break when all the OSU students are leaving and that student revenue is gone for a while.
Yeah, and there should be, I'm pretty sure totaling up this year, there's going to be over 3,000 participants.
Wow. That is definitely, and it's, I think, and they're probably helped by being one of the first events of the year, right?
Yes. In kind of the gravel cycling calendar. Now there's been a whole bunch of smaller ones, especially down in Texas where it's generally warmer, earlier in the year. But Mid-South is if you treat some of these Midwestern gravel races like horse racing, this would be kind of like one of the Triple Crown races.
Oh.
That's how I view it.
Okay.
it's not series like, okay, here's the person that's won Mid-South and won this race and this race, and now there's some sort of grand champion. It's not like that. However, there is a group trying to put together a series. They're more of the corporate-owned ones, and Mid-South is not. It's super local. But, yes, it is that first, like, big race that everybody gets excited about. Thursday is kind of when things kick off. You have...
is that the beer can reveal?
Yes, but before that, there's going to be a group ride, which is the Everybody's ride. That's right before the beer can. I think that's like 4:00. Then there's the beer can release party at Iron Monk. And then Friday, they have the 50K runners.
Okay.
So the runners, in the past, they had the runners and the riders happen both on Saturday, except for the people that were doing the double, which were running 50K and then riding 100 miles.
Still blows my mind.
So there's enough runners. They've attracted enough runners now to make running basically an event Friday. So there'll be runners that will do that. And that also then allows them to kind of make it a little bit easier for their volunteer resources. So on these routes, you've got, people offering water and food and basic support out on the course. And so they have a 100-mile, a 50-mile ride, and then they would have that 50K race. So you'd have to have 3 different groups of volunteers out. And then also on the 100-mile, you also have the checkway, the halfway point, which is in Pawnee this year. And so you have volunteers there. So they were able to kind of simplify things by let's focus on the running on Friday and then focus on the riding on Saturday. And then another new aspect that I will be participating in along with my family, so my fiance and our 3 kids, is the 12-mile inspiration ride. So it is a family ride that basically goes out to a place on south of town on Brush Creek Road that we call Inspiration Point. So if you take 19th, which used to be gravel, it's now a new county paved road, to Brush Creek, and then you head south a couple miles, you'll come up to this one point, and it's, I think, right near like 44th, and it's a pretty steep little hill, and you're pretty high up. You can see campus, you can see Stillwater, you can see town from there on a clear day.
That's like between 44th and 56th,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it's also, so the family ride's going to end. And so at the end of, or the halfway point of that ride is a pretty steep hill that I've already told, like, my kids this weekend, we're going to do some training. We're going to go out there. I do not expect them to be able to ride their bikes up this hill. It's pretty steep. They're probably going to have to walk it. And then ride back. So that's new. And that is based upon a Sunday ride that they would do, a family ride all the time, which was pretty much this exact same route. So that's going to start Saturday at 8:30. So the 100-mile and the 50-milers are going to be out of there at 8.
Okay.
And then the family ride will leave at 8:30. And then everybody then slowly starts, finishing and returning.
So basically it sounds like with Mid-South, you've got a bicycle race, you've got a 50-mile ride, you've got family activities, you've got an expo, you've got an ultra marathon, you've got a bike expo, you've got a street party with live music and good beer. There should be something for just about everybody.
There's going to be a stage and bands and stuff.
Okay.
Block 34 or near Block 34 is what it sounds like.
Nice.
It's also kind of interesting that this is really, I guess maybe we had sports this past fall, right? OSU sports. That was
sure, yeah, just about everything.
But for more like community, non-OSU events, this is like one of the. It's interesting that this is one of the big ones now to come take us back, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess not out of the pandemic, but.
Well, it kind of closed. It kind of led us into it, and it's kind of as far as community events, maybe marking the end of some of the worst parts of it. Anyway.
Yeah, right. But I mean, there's so many things that either just got canceled or they tried to make a a virtual thing out of it,
Yeah.
or a drive-through thing. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'm tired of drive-through.
But it's hard to say. I mean, but yeah, you're right though. It's like if you put 50,000 people in a football stadium, it's hard to say we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Because yes, we've
absolutely.
had those events. Sure.
Sure.
But yeah,
Well, and I think
this sort of does still feel like sort of a milestone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do say after you've crammed 50,000 people into a football stadium, it's harder to say that you can't have these small events.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's getting more, what we would consider back to normal, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And I love Mid-South. I love to go down there and take pictures at the finish line. They're just always good pictures. There's so much human drama.
We've got a lot of, I'll be trying to cover it from the family. I'll just be, with my phone taking photos and stuff. Ashlyn's trying to get out there. I don't know if Hallie might be also trying to get out there. Michelle, you're trying to get out there.
Yeah.
So hopefully we should have some good coverage of what happens this year.
Absolutely.
I think what I like about it is that sort of, it's just a weird blend between the pros and the amateurs that you just don't see that anywhere.
It's super unique.
It's very unique in that
Right.
You can have these people who are just best in the world, riding in these things, and then someone who's gonna trail in,
Oh yeah.
frozen half to death after 15 hours.
Yep.
And that's what I love
midnight.
about it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it, because talking to Bobby in the past about this, and the DFL, which is dead effing last. That's what it stands for. That person gets a big old trophy. They are celebrated. Like, people wait and they celebrate that person just as much or more than they celebrate the first person to come across the finish line, because the idea is, how much did it take for that person to keep going? They're riding on these county roads, these dirt roads at midnight. It's cold,
Yep.
it's dark, they're by
Usually-
themselves, and they kept going.
So the very first, when it was Land Run 100 in 2013, I finished like 63 out of 67 people that year. I was out there so long that I had like a little blinking light. I didn't have a headlight, so I was practically riding in the dark too. So usually, yeah, you're like, you know what? In a way, that was as much suffering as the fastest rider that got it done in 5 or 6 hours. And the interesting thing, the DFL, is usually the award that you get is more valuable than the custom first place trophy or thing that's carved out of a piece of metal or wood. One year when you had to cross a creek where they actually built a staircase to get out of this cattle creek, but they found there was a dead cattle skull.
Right.
And they're like, that's so cool. And they were like, let's make this the DFL award.
I remember that.
So one of the guys that's friends, he works here locally for the FDA. And he's like, yeah, probably, there's some things you got to do to these. Well, we're in Oklahoma, and there is a Longhorn cattle place that sells these. And they're like, I think they're hundreds of dollars. And we had one year, then they gave that to give as the DFL award, this gigantic Longhorn skull.
Wow.
Not with the horns. I think there was no horns. It was just the skull. But still, like, crazy.
Pretty cool. And it takes a lot of guts to do that and to keep pushing. So, yes. Anyway, lots of human drama, lots of excitement, lots of good pictures, hopefully, and other events to follow. I'm really excited about it.
So I don't even think I've looked at the route. Any issues with our road work that, they're going to run into the kind of stuff going on 177?
I don't think so. I know they work really good with the local sheriff. So any major crossings and roads, they usually have police out there, and they have volunteers out there to make sure that, riders are stopped if there's traffic, or to wave them on. For riders, especially those that have not been in Stillwater since 2020 or earlier, there's going to be some new roads. So one of the main roads, like, going out is 19th Street. So that's been paved. That used to be like, okay, that was your intro to gravel, is you turned off right at Jardot and 19th Street. And depending on when they've last graded that road, that road was pretty rough all the way to Brush Creek. Now it's a black, smooth surface, so there'll be some people like, well, that section's no longer gravel. And then the bike lanes that we have on Duck.
Oh, that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will tell you, 19th Street was washboarded all the time. There's something about the drainage in that area, because I used to live out there on Brush Creek Road between 32nd and 44th. And it was a terrible road. I didn't even want to drive on it in my pickup.
A lot of those roads, you've got oil wells and stuff right there, and you've got the big semis that come out, and they create those washboards in addition to the poor drainage. And I mean, it is a relatively wide, or was a relatively wide gravel road, and people go fast there.
They do. They definitely do.
Keep that in mind for people traveling to and from Stillwater. Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout for bikes. Lots of them.
Be careful.
At all hours of the day and night.
Be careful around all of our road construction. We were going to dig a little deeper into traffic and roads and things, but I think we've used up quite a bit of our time.
No, I agree.
We'll have to come back and follow up on that later.
People just need to be watching for signs. Right now, watch for signs. Hopefully, if you're around Perkins Road, don't be if you don't have to be. I would summarize with that.
Yeah.
Just watch for the signs that tell you which lanes you can drive in, because they're going to be moving around a little bit.
Okie dokie. I think that'll do it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us in the Newsroom.
In the Newsroom is edited and produced by me, Chris Peters. You can find all of our past episodes and show notes at studiostillwater.net. This podcast is made possible with support from the Stillwater News Press. Please consider subscribing to our award-winning newspaper and help support local journalism. Go to stwnewspress.com to sign up. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.